In 1990, a foreign policy issue rose that not only disturbed Pakistan, but the entire peace-loving world. Saddam Hussein accused his neighboring small country, Kuwait, of stealing Iraqi oil and occupying it. After occupation, Iraq has declared Kuwait its 19th province. In those days, Iraq was the great military and industrial power of the Arab world, which had Scud missiles and chemical weapons. Since this was a fight for oil, neighboring militarily weak countries like Saudi Arabia got threatened, and the US military came to help Saudi Arabia's security. The United States established its military headquarters on Saudi Arabian land, and the whole world was demanding Iraq evacuate Kuwait, but Iraq declined. In Saudi Arabia, a military alliance of 34 countries was established to liberate Kuwait from Iraq's occupation. Saudi Arabia also invited Pakistan to join the alliance. It was impossible for Pakistan because it did not want to attack any Muslim country. Pakistan wanted the Islamic countries to deal with their differences instead of going to war. Therefore, the Pakistani government and army adopted another policy. Nawaz Shareef believed that Iraq could be persuaded to vacate Kuwait through negotiations, so Pakistan started efforts to save the Islamic world from mutual warfare. The Prime Minister visited many Islamic countries and tried to meet Saddam Hussein, but Saddam Hussein was not ready to accept anyone. On the other hand, the government and army decided to send some extra troops to avoid Saudi Arabia's annoyance, but these troops will remain in Riyadh as backup and will not take part in attacks on Iraq. Moreover, Pakistan also demanded that Iraq withdraw its troops from Kuwait immediately. Thus, more Pakistani troops departed for Saudi Arabia. Troops had just arrived in Saudi Arabia when an event occurred that shocked the PM. As the Pakistani army arrived in Saudi Arabia, Army Chief General Baig issued a statement supporting Saddam. He said, "Iraq will be the second Vietnam for the United States Army Chief, who named the Gulf War a Jewish conspiracy instead of playing bridge between Muslim countries." The Army Chief's statement created the impression that the Prime Minister has sent the Pak Army to fight against Saddam Hussein against the will of the Army Chief. This situation created huge problems for Nawaz Shareef. The story was not over yet, while the Saudi ambassador thanked Pakistan for sending the troops. But after the statement by General Baig, public opinion in Pakistan began to tilt in favor of Saddam. All of a sudden, pictures of Saddam Hussein started selling on the footpaths of Pakistan all over Pakistan. Protests for Saddam erupted. Anjuman Tulba-e-Islam recruited thousands of young Pakistanis to fight against the United States. Jamaat-e-Islami started a protest movement holding models of Iraqi Scud missiles. An environment was created showing Saddam as a great Muslim hero fighting against the heretic USA. But the truth was that Saddam did not wage war against the US, but small Muslim nation Kuwait was invaded and had seized it. Saddam was not confronted only by the US. There was an alliance of 34 countries, including the forces of many Islamic countries, including Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Syria, and Morocco. Saddam Hussein had also fought a long war against the Muslim country of Iran before invading Kuwait. The United States and Britain were allies of Saddam Hussein. In that war, there used to be a US flag over Saddam's ships, and the British Army had taught Iraqis to make chemical weapons. The purpose of telling all those facts is that the Gulf War of Saddam was not the war of Islam and Kufr. But in Pakistan, an atmosphere was created in favor of Saddam Hussein. On the other side, coalition forces from 34 countries demolished Iraq. Iraq's industrial and military power were finished. Pakistan's role in the Iraq War created conflict, which resulted in two consequences for Nawaz Shareef. The government's coalition party, GUI, left the coalition. GUI's representative in government, Maulana Abdul Sadr Nazi, resigned. The second consequence was that relations between Nawaz and the army chief worsened. Their relations could have deteriorated further, but the army chief's retirement was near. Now the new army chief had to be appointed. And this story is also very interesting. Nawaz Shareef was not happy with Aslam Baig's interference in political matters. That's the reason he did not want to give him more extensions in those times. The new army chief was appointed by the president on the prime minister's advice. So President Ghulam Ishaq Khan asked Nawaz Sharif's advice about 3 senior generals, Those three were General Shamim Alam, General Hamid Gul, and General Asif Nawaz Janjua. The third general, Asif Nawaz and Nawaz Shareef, never liked each other. Nawaz Shareef never told me about his selected name, but it was obvious that his name was not General Asif Nawaz, but the president appointed General Asif Nawaz as army chief. That's why, after his appointment, there was always a constant conflict between the PM House and the GHQ. Intense relations with the president, religious parties, and the GHQ were just beginning. The actual challenge and series of constant attacks were to start now, as opposition leader Benazir Bhutto had returned from London to Pakistan, and she also started meeting with the president to topple the Nawaz government. And this was the same president who had also toppled Benazir Bhutto's government. We will also tell this story, but before that, we will tell you that when the Pakistani team was preparing for the 1992 World Cup, what was the propaganda in newspapers? And I will also tell you that when the World Cup '92 final was in Melbourne, what was happening with TV screens in Pakistan?